Hey, how's everyone doing?
Good. Good. How are you?
Doing great.
Good.
How about yourself?
Just trying to let everybody in.
Full house.
Let's see that.
Hey, can everybody hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right, so appreciate everybody being here. We're going to go ahead and get started. So I can respect your time. There's a lot of information tonight. And unfortunately, I am not home. I had a volleyball match tonight that got moved a little bit later, and then the girls decided to use all 5 sets to finish it. So I'm running late. But fortunately, Michael Hernandez is here. He's one of the DLOA's certified trainers through USA Lacrosse, and he's going to pretty much lead you through everything. I'll be here. I'll be jumping in where we need to, but Mike is more than capable of doing this. He's been very involved in our training for a lot of years, and he also probably for the last 5 years has been a part of our youth official training program. Not a part of it. He's been our youth official training program. So training our high school players to officiate youth lacrosse games, several of whom have gone on to become, adult members of the DLOA later. So you guys are in really good hands. Before he starts, just want to make sure I sent out an email today with a couple things in it. First and foremost were the recordings of the first 2 meetings. I apologize for taking so long to do that. I tend to fall a little bit behind, and work's been crazy and some stuff going on at home. So it took me a little bit. In today's email, there's also links to 2 Kahoot quizzes. And those quizzes go along with the second class, the class we had last week. So if you did not attend that class live, you need to watch the video and then make sure you complete those 2 quizzes. And then I will have another quiz coming up for the first class. And sorry, it seems backwards, but I'm using USA Lacrosse's materials, kind of testing it as we go along, and found a couple problems with the Kahoots they had made for the first class. So I want to make sure that they're correct. So if you didn't attend the second class, watch the video, do those 2 Kahoots. That gets you credit for the class. Even if you did attend, I would do the Kahoots. It's a great way to reinforce what we talked about, kind of know what, get an idea what you know. And then the second part of that email had to do with the training day on Saturday, which at least if everybody can make the times I gave, it's going to be pretty much a Saturday, into the early afternoon thing. So we're going to be on 2 different fields, and we have several different trainers. So just if those times, for whatever reason, don't work for you, please send me an email or a text tomorrow. We can talk and figure out what's the best way to do it for you to get through. The idea will be for the training. It's all going to be based on the mechanics, which we're going to cover today. And basically, you'll start out following the official and kind of mimicking and watching them. And then after we do that for a round, then the trainer will actually kind of follow you and work with you. And then in the end, you'll actually be out on the field with your partner, probably another part of the applicant class, and we'll actually be doing a formal observation. And hopefully that's successful for you. And that checks the box of getting the formal observation out of the way and gets you ready to be fully certified. With the times at Kirkwood. So I know they're early, but I want to spend a little bit of time before your games going over face-offs and going over a few other things and just talking through what we're going to be doing and walking around on the field a little bit before the games start. If you are in that 10:30 session, there's 3 of you, I would shoot to get there much earlier than you think you need to get there. Parking at Kirkwood is an absolute shit show. So you may have to park and walk a little bit. If you get there too late in the morning, traffic backs all up there on, I think that's Route 9, all outside of the complex, and it's very hard to get into. So make sure you allow yourself plenty of time. And then the last thing I have is I did notice one random name had logged in, something Ziegler had logged into the meeting.
That was mine. I switched it.
Did you? Okay. All I was going to say is if you're not logged in with your email address, just send me a text or an email and let me know that that was used, because I go back through the log to check your attendance for the meeting. So other than that, does anybody have any questions about all that?
Yeah. Hey, Greg, Kevin Walker. The last email I have from you is from October 26th. Maybe I wasn't on the email about the times on Saturday, but just, I don't know.
Okay.
Let me know what's going on.
Yeah, do me a favor, Kevin. Can you just shoot me a text? And,
yeah.
And when I get home, I'll forward you that email. I don't know how you dropped off of there.
Yeah, I got you.
Is there anybody else who didn't get that? All right. It may be, I think, Kevin, you registered a little bit late.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of using the list that I had. I just keep, recycling the same email, basically. So that's probably why you're not on there. So just shoot me that text. Yep. As soon as I get home, I'll forward it to you. Gotcha. But I think I have you, I think it's 7:30 on field 12. But just when you get the email, just check that.
Yeah, on Saturday, you were saying about maybe like Sunday too, right? Or just Saturday morning?
If Saturday works for everybody, it's easier just to get all the training done in one day.
Gotcha.
For us. That way we're not spreading it out. The tournament's being very generous to allow us to do this.
Sure.
To train actually doing a tournament. In my mind, it's the best experience that you can get, because it's actual live, and there's nothing like doing it. And my philosophy on life is, once you fuck something up 3 or 4 times, you get pretty good at it. You won't fuck it up again. So we get out there, we screw things up, and then we learn how to fix them, and then we're good to go. So that's why I like doing it during these kind of situations. And it's live, it's unpredictable. So we should have a lot of fun. All right, anybody else?
Yes, I just seen a message that came through. I'm actually coming from Del Mar Laurel area, and I have a 7 o'clock game. So I was trying to see What time did you actually? want
Holy
us to
shit,
be
you're gonna
there?
leave like 3 o'clock. I didn't realize you were coming from so far. So, do me a favor, shoot me a text or send me an email. And I'll move unless you want to be there. And I mean, that's the time to be there is 7 o'clock.
I'm,
You
wi-
wanna
I'm
do
willing
that.
to trade.
I'm willing to trade too.
Yeah, I'm willing to trade to be at that 7A. That would help me
All
tremendously.
right, so who has the 10:30 that wants to trade?
That's
John
Tyson.
M. Oh, sorry.
All right. So if you guys could just, somebody send me a text and just tell me to trade the two of you and just consider yourselves traded. And that way I can fix it on my sheet. And I
Okay,
think,
yeah, that definitely works.
John, what are you both on what, field 12 or field 3?
I'm on 3.
And both of you are on field 3?
I'm looking right now. I am
Okay.
scheduled for
3 also, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I
Alright,
know.
so-
I was on field 3 too at 7. So
field 3. Yes, I was
Yep,
scheduled
so
originally
just,
at
yeah,
field
send me
3.
that text so I know who's who, because I'm not looking at my phone right now. And I'll
Okay.
make that, I'll make sure, I just want to make the switch for my records, but you guys just know that you're coming, you're flopping your times.
all right, definitely
go, I love
appreciate that, fellas.
No, you know what, I didn't even think about that, so. No, I'm glad you're coming up, and I'd rather make it easy for you. I still, coming at that late, I still would recommend, shoot for getting that, plan to get there at least 30 minutes before that time. Just because parking is so
Okay, yeah, no, I'll be
unpredictable
there probably by like
Yeah,
yeah, I'll be there at like 9 or 9:30. So that's the difference of leaving at 4:30 and 7:30.
I get it. Yeah, I'm with you. So,
So Greg, can I ask, so can both Mr. Tyson and I show up at 7 or just one of us at 7?
who's that?
This is John M. So
So
it's just
John,
one
you're
of us,
gonna-
right?
you're gonna switch now, or no, you're gonna come at 7 and Tyson's gonna come at 10:30.
Okay, I was originally supposed to come at 10:30, and I thought I was switching until 7.
Oh, wait, okay, now I'm
Right, so I,
confused.
you know what, I think Mr. Tyson spoke up first, so I'll keep my 10:30. And so Mr. Parker and Mr. Tyson will switch, it sounds like.
Oh, it's Mr. Parker and Mr. Tyson switching.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, I didn't realize we had a third party in there. Okay. All right.
Thank you,
So
guys.
just,
Appreciate it.
make sure you send me that in an email who I'm switching, and we'll be good to go. All right, so with that, I'm gonna let Mike take over. He's gonna talk first about penalty enforcement. So basically, everything we do after you recognize there's a penalty. So I'm gonna mute myself, and then I'll be listening. If I have anything to say, I'll come back.
All right, well, let me go ahead and share my screen. Share. All right, everyone see the penalty enforcement PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, so talking about rule 7. All right, so after we throw the flag, we do need to know what we need to do after that fact. All right, first we need to recognize situation. We need to make the call. So if you see a slash, you see a hold, whatever the case may be, we're gonna throw the flag for that. If you hesitate, that's okay. I'm always a person, even after 14 years, take an extra second or two to make sure I have that call correct. So take an extra second or two is totally fine, because you don't want to be early and wrong. I always say you want to be late and right, if anything. After you throw the flag and everything, the dust settles, we're gonna make sure we talk to our partners, make sure we get the call right. And then we're gonna put the ball back into play and move on after we administer everything, which we'll talk about. All right, so recognize the situation. Is the ball loose? Is there a personal foul? The personal foul. blow the whistle is a technical. If it's gonna be a play on situation. If the team has possession of the ball, if it's personal or technical. And if teams don't have possession, and if it's personal. So just an easy, quick breakdown. Once we recognize a loose ball foul, if it's personal, we're gonna blow the whistle. If it's technical, we're gonna use the play on situation. Of course, with the whistle, we're gonna have the flag. If it's a technical foul, that was gonna be a play on. If teams have possession, it's gonna be a flag. We're gonna make sure we blow our whistle at the proper time. And if teams don't have possession, the ball's rolling around. Let's just say there's a slash or a big head or anything like that. It's gonna be a flag. All right. I need to get rid of this little screen. It's in my way. All right. So flag down, slow whistle technique is what we use whenever there's a flag on the field, but we don't want to kill the opportunity the offense still has due to that flag. All right. And this is what we call how we kill the play is what we call goodies is how we break it down. So the only way we kill the flag or should say kill the play after we throw the flag is if the goal is scored, an offensive player commits a penalty, a foul, I mean, ball goes out of bounds, defense gains possession of the ball, we have an injury, the period ends, or someone loses a piece of equipment, or if there's a second foul by the defense. Those are the only ways we're going to stop it. If none of those things happen, let's just say we have a slash, we're going to throw the flag down, and we're going to let that play out until one of these things here occur.
So, hey, I'm going to step in, Mike, for 1 second. So the reason we do this flag down, slow whistle technique is to preserve any advantage, that a team gets or has at the time of the foul. So if team A is in possession of the ball and team B commits, any foul, you don't want them to lose whatever offensive initiative they have, an opportunity to score just because you threw that flag. And so we play out this flag down, slow whistle until one of the things Mike talked about happens. Then we'll talk after that, once we stop play, how we adjudicate it. But the whole thing goes back to what we talked about last week, which is this principle of advantage and disadvantage. We want to make sure that if a team's not disadvantaged because they were fouled, by the way we administer it. They're already disadvantaged enough because of the foul. Now we want to make sure we don't add to that and that they have that opportunity to score and to move to move on. That's it.
All right. Thanks, Greg. All right. So talking about the steps that we have for flag down, slow whistle. Of course, we're going to yell flag down. We're going to throw our flag. If there's going to be a score an opportunity, we're just going to let that play out. And like Greg said, we're going to blow the whistle if one of those goodies happen, those situations. The flag toss, you want to make sure you throw your flag, especially up in the air above your head if you can. It's not one of those situations where, like in football, where you kind of like pick the flag out of your pocket and kind of toss it to the ground where the foul occurs. You see here the referee kind of winds up and throws it into the air. That way everyone knows that there's a flag. We got an example of one here. So you see the gentleman right here. I'm gonna rewind it. Look at this official right here. Throws the flag up in the air. That way everyone sees it. Doesn't matter where it lands. You just kind of want to make sure you kind of know where it is. So when you go try to find it, okay? All right. Relay and reporting. First and foremost, you want to talk to your partners on the field, make sure they know what's going on, what you're calling. That way they can properly get the field prepared when you come back after reporting to the table, which will be the second step. You're going to report to the table and the coaches. And we'll report to the goalkeeper and all the other players. This is usually something what we talk about in pregame, where the official's not calling that foul or official, relays it to the players. That way everyone's ready to go when the reporting official comes back, ready to go. And how we report to the table is what we call C note. It's color, number, the offense, and the time. So we have an example here. We have blue 2, slashing 1 minute. Here at the bottom, it says explanation of optional. It's more about like if it's a dead ball foul, if you have a hit to the head, really anything like that, or telling them where the ball is going to start, any special situations, which we'll talk about later. But this is the main thing we're going to do for every penalty relay to the table: caller, number, offense, time. Any questions about that? All right. All right, we got an example here. Oh, it's not working. All right, but he just pretty much just goes through the C note of like blue 22 / 1 minute. All right. You always want to make sure you have a comfortable doing it, even if you practice it a little bit before your games. Making sure you throw your flag, make sure you kind of have a good toss. You yell, yep, flag down after each flag, because sometimes a lot of players don't see it, especially in the middle of the scrum or anything like that. They won't understand what's going on if they don't hear it. So it's always a good idea to make sure those players know, especially the player who got slashed or any kind of penalty, that they know that that foul has been penalized. And reporting to the table, make sure we are clear with the table if it's personal fouls or technical fouls. But I always practice this. Here at the bottom says, give your phone to a neighbor or something like that. I always just practice in the mirror, especially reporting fouls, like the signals, just to make sure they look crisp, they look clean, and everyone can understand them. All right, when to use the in-home. So if there's no number, you don't know what number it was. If it was a scrum, you just saw the stick come down, slash someone in the head, or if it's on the coach. The player that we get from the coaches in our pregame, we ask them for the captains, and we also ask them for the in-home, which should be the first attackman in the book. Should be a starting attackman. But this is the person who serves those fouls for any coach or assistant coaches on the bench, or if you can't find a number.
Hey, Mike, one thing, just so we'll go over signaling a little bit on Saturday. There should be, if you've downloaded the rule books or purchased the rule book on the NFHS app, there should be a table with all of our signals, and they're all pretty self-explanatory. But the signaling, especially when you have any fouls, whether you're reporting a loose ball foul, or you're actually reporting a flag down time serving penalty, those signals that's how you tell the story of what happened to everybody, and particularly the coaches. We don't want to have to keep stopping and slowing the game down to go over to the coach and say, well, hey, this is what happened. If we make good signals and we're very clear and competent, usually the coach, understands what happened, and, we'll be good to go. He might not be okay with it, but he understands we call it a push or a slash or a hold. If it's more complicated, one of us might explain it to him, or when we have a second. But the converse of that is when you use sloppy signaling, or you don't really use signaling, everybody becomes confused, and that just leads to more frustration. So we always want to make sure when we're reporting any foul, loose ball, just a turnover or and even a time serving penalty. It's very clear what's happening. And that, that tells everybody what's going on. It also alleviates some of the frustration that coaches feel when they don't know, what just happened.
All right. All right, so the play on technique, this is the thing we use for anything that's loose ball, like loose ball push, loose ball hold. With play ons, we want to keep them short. We don't want them to play out too much. Because I'm always of the idea of if you let play continue, especially after a foul happens, even a tiny one, it could cause something bigger. A couple seconds later, if we let it run out for like 10 seconds or more, I always say try to let them have one chance at the ball, the offensive team. If they can't really scoop it up or no one can really scoop it up without being checked or lose it again, I'm always of the mentality of keeping it short and getting the ball in the right team stick.
And on the play ons, again, we're back to the advantage idea. So the idea of a play on is that, even if a team is pushed or held on a loose ball, something happens and they can pick up the ball and continue, to progress. That's more advantageous than stopping play. But we want to make sure, that they do have, they do get the advantage they deserve. So if a play on is not appropriate, or if the player picks the ball up after you call play on and it's immediately checked out of his stick, you still want to kill that and award the ball. All right? You want to make sure they have, the correct advantage. And if you remember back, to personal fouls and play of the game, on any restart, a player with the ball should have no defending player play him who's within 5 yards. So you can, when you restart play after any loose ball foul, they're going to have 5 yards. So if you're going to do a play on and then award, basically allow the play on to go through and let play go through, you want to make sure that player who picked the ball up has the same entitlement to 5 yards. And if he's not going to get it, you're just going to kill the play and let them pick the ball up and then restart it. And then they get their 5 yards and all that.
All right, so thank you, Greg. So let's go over the play on process. So team B commits a loose ball foul, whatever that may be, loose ball push or hold, anything like that. We're gonna yell play on. We're gonna do this signal here. We're gonna have our hand raised above our head. If the teammate doesn't gain possession of the ball, we're just gonna stop play. Eyes on any little extra activity that could happen, any slashes or anything like that. Make sure nothing crazy happens. We're gonna do our signals. So loose ball push, and reward the ball, be red ball, whatever the color would be. If teammate gains possession and doesn't get disadvantaged, we're just gonna say play off, and we're gonna let them continue play. So you see right here circled. We're gonna yell play on, player got pushed. Team gets the ball back. We're just gonna yell play off. Because it's nothing major, it's only a technical foul. But we're just letting everyone know and letting the coaches know that we recognize that foul. All right. And like Greg said, the signals are in the rule book, or you can look at them in the back of the packet. The push, holding, offsides, illegal procedure, conduct foul, interference. Those are all mainly the main technical fouls that we call on an average game. All right. Correction of errors. If we make a mistake, we need to make sure we take our time. Stop the clock when we blow the whistle. understand the mistake that happened, inform everyone of the error and make the correction. And we definitely want to take our time with this because we want to make sure we get it right. Because if we already got it wrong once, we don't need to get it wrong again. Give teams time to sub. Don't disadvantage a team from restarting too fast. So especially if, like, let's just say it's supposed to be blue ball and you say white ball. If you recognize and say, no, it's supposed to be blue ball. I'm always of the mentality, I've given them extra couple seconds to get their right players on, because you don't want one team to be ready and one team to think they have the ball and they're subbing, and then they turn around and they realize they're on defense and the goal scored. It just creates more problems than we need to deal with, compared to taking an extra couple seconds saying, no, get your right people on and continue and play. All right, for
And
this,
Mike,
go
Mike,
ahead.
real quick, anytime, usually it happens, and exactly like Mike said, you point the wrong direction, and all of a sudden, the white team believes they're getting the ball, and they send off all their defensive midfielders, and in the middle of that, you reverse that and say, no, it was blue ball, and the blue guy picks the ball up and you blow the whistle, and you've completely created an unfair situation by your mistake. And that's why Mike is saying, once you've made that mistake, or there's confusion, sometimes a team will think something happened and everybody becomes very confused. It's okay to just hold both hands up and say, hey, obviously, I made a mistake, or something happened. It's created confusion. We're going to let everybody sub and everybody get the right guys on. And, you just wait and let them do it. And if a coach ever bitches or beefs about it, you say, Coach, if I do it and it was disadvantaging you, I would give you the same courtesy I just gave the other coach. It's very important. You don't want to be, because you made a mistake, and you're going to make mistakes, probably 4 or 5 a game, after you've been doing it for 15 or 20 years, like Mike and I, probably a lot more before that. But, you own your mistakes and you move on. You just want to make sure that those mistakes don't give a team something that's unfair, an undue advantage because of your mistake.
All right. For 2023, just kind of, I think they just kind of put this in here for rules changes for youth. Starting this year, all fouls will be served full time. So just like if it hits the head, anything like that, it's technical and personal fouls for youth. I think they're just trying to keep the kids from playing too uncontrolled, and trying to teach them the right way to play the game. Just increases the impact of penalties that are called. So just like I said before, especially when you guys work youth games, this is the time to make sure you're getting the correct call that you're calling, whether it's a push, a possession, a slash, anything like that. Taking your time, make sure you're calling the right thing, because they're trying to teach these kids the right way to play. And as we know, like for coaches, when you have a full serve penalty time and someone scores and you can't release that penalty, it really hurts. So we need to make sure we do our best to get the calls that we make right. And
Mike,
yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done. So that
I
rule
was just gonna say,
change-
it helps with the coaches and like the table personnel, like when you have any for youth games, knowing what's full and what's not full. They're just made everything full.
Right. Yep. Now that just a point of reference, that's only for games that are playing the USA lacrosse youth rules.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you know what rules they're playing. A lot of youth, especially in tournaments, play some kind of hybrid high school or college rules, and in that case, the penalties aren't. They would be their normal. Most penalties would be released by a goal by the other team. And the main reason that they're doing this in youth, and USA Lacrosse is doing it, is in areas where lacrosse is new and growing. There's a lot of confusion, unreleasable, releasable, types of penalties. And often, when you're doing youth, you've got a mom is given a stopwatch to time penalties. She has no idea really what we're talking about. So to eliminate the confusion, they've just said we're going to make all penalties unreleasable.
Yeah.
You
You guys won't have this weekend. They'll play some kind of hybrid, like Greg said, of youth and NCAA. This will probably be more for when I tie games in the spring on Saturdays. This will be more for that. Oh. All right. Greg, are we doing a game thing?
Skip the games.
Okay.
That's the coots I'll send out. I go and reformat them so they're a quiz you can take individually. The one thing that I was kind of surprised that's not covering is just a little bit explanation, when it comes to penalty enforcement, and Mike can get the other PowerPoint ready while I'm talking.
Yeah.
We talked releasable and unreleasable. And for those of you who don't know lacrosse, the majority of penalties you have are called releasable. So the idea is, the team gets to play for a period of time, 30 seconds or a minute, generally, with a man advantage. So they have an extra man. If they're able to score a goal with that extra man, then the penalty is released, and your next face-off would be, at even strength. In most cases, unreleasable penalties are for penalties of a more serious nature. So we talked a lot last week, hits to the head, targeting, uncontrolled slashes, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, because they're considered to be of a more severe nature, can be non-releasable. And that simply means that if you get a 1 minute penalty, you serve 1 full minute. And if the team scores 3 goals during that minute, then they score 3 goals during that minute. So that's releasable and non-releasable. The other thing that doesn't cover, and we'll cover a lot more in the spring, has to do with multiple fouls. So there's a lot of different rules for multiple fouls, particularly after you have some kind of a melee. Anything you do before the spring, and even in the spring, you'll generally work with a more senior person. You defer to them to solve those kind of problems. And often, you'll have 2 fouls on the same play on different teams. Player A slashes player B, and player B turns around and shoves player A, and now you have multiple fouls, and you got to know, what to do with them and all that. One important thing to know is if you have penalties. So, in the case that I just gave you, you have a penalty on each team. They are enforced at the same tick of the clock. So they're enforced at the same time. So all of the penalty time when that happens is non-releasable. Okay, so if player A goes in for a minute, at the same time player B goes in for a minute, and they're on different teams, then all of that common penalty time is locked in or unreleasable. The other thing that it doesn't discuss is what we call stacking, and hopefully you never get to this, but basically all stacking is, if you get some bad situations, a team can only be 3 men down. They can't be more than 3 men down. So if a team has 3 players in the penalty box, and this is rare, and then you have a 4th foul committed, that 4th foul does what's called stacking. So they can't participate in the game and they stand kind of behind the other players. And then as soon as one penalty is released, they go in and they serve the full time of their penalty. So that's stacking. And then the other thing, a couple of things about penalty enforcement, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. If you get 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties in a game, that warrants a game ejection. So very similar to soccer, and you get a second yellow card and that becomes a red card and you're ejected. Ejection fouls on players carry 3 minutes, unreleasable. They did change the rule for coaches a couple years ago. So if you have to eject a coach, that penalty is served, like Mike said, by the in-home, but it's only 1 minute. And the logic behind that is, you know, when a coach goes off the rails and loses it, gets ejected, and now the team is down for 3 minutes. And especially in the high school rules, and this is only in the high school rules, you know, the feeling was you didn't want to disadvantage the players to that point because the coach, you know, was made a terrible mistake or did something he shouldn't do. If you're playing NCAA rules, first of all, there's no limit on the unsportsmanlike conduct fouls before an ejection. You set that limit as the referee. So that basically what I'm saying is just because a player gets 2 unsportsmanlike conduct fouls does not necessarily mean you're going to eject him. You don't have to. That's ejections and things like that. So that's pretty much, you know, all the penalty enforcement stuff. We'll go over a lot more when it comes to simultaneous fouls in the spring. It's a higher level concept, and I just want us to focus right now just on the basics of what we're doing. So I guess before Mike starts with the mechanics, are there any questions about the penalty enforcement? Okay, so Mike's going to move on to the PowerPoint about mechanics. And I mean, I'm sure you football officials are all familiar with the term mechanics. I like to think of mechanics kind of as our officials playbook. You know, our mechanics are our plays. It's how we work together as a team to cover the field, to make sure that we have eyes on as many players as possible. And we have eyes particularly on the difficult situations at all times. And it's very important to understand our mechanics and work hard to become very good at them, because if we all are following the same basic mechanics, it makes it much easier to manage a game. And I'm sure any of you, whether you know you have a lacrosse background or any athletic background, have been in a game when it's very obvious that the officials in the game aren't on the same page. You know, they're kind of playing out of 2 different playbooks, and that can become a great point of frustration if the referees don't seem to be on the same page. And what the mechanics that Mike's going to go over with you do is keeps us on the same page. And it also helps us, you know, if I work, you know, like I've worked with Mike a million times. I know we both have strong mechanics. We have similar mechanics. You know, it's very easy. I want to know when I work with Kevin Walker or John Lumsford or Tyson Burden, you know, that pretty much going into the game, I know where they're going to be at any point in the game. I know they're going to have eyes on the things I don't have eyes on. And most importantly, to make sure the players are safe at all times. If we don't have our eyes in the right places, you know, if we're both following a loose ball and we're not looking at the players, you know, that's the perfect time for somebody to get crushed and you miss it. You know, so we want to make sure that we're doing this so we keep the players safe at all times. So with that, I'm going to let Mike go on and go through the PowerPoint. I will say, and I told him, I went through this real quickly. It's a new one from USA Lacrosse. There's a lot of animations in here and some of them are fairly new. If you know lacrosse, you'll be able to follow the animations. If you don't, they may be confusing. Just do your best. We're going to go over all this in depth when we're on the field. And it actually works better, you know, when we're standing there, we're looking at a field that's lined and we can talk about all the different areas we're moving in and how all that works. And it becomes especially clear when there's players on the field that you can actually do and not little dots moving around a screen. So Mike, go ahead.
All right. So like Greg said, the mission with mechanics is positioning. Make sure we're in the right position to make the call. Consistency, making sure we're making the same calls during the game, whether it's on one side of the field or the other. It helps keep the game fair and also keeps everyone safe, which is our #1 priority for every game. It's teamwork, like Greg said, working together, getting the calls right, keeping the game moving. Why clear and mechanics are important. It's 3 basic things the coaches always need to know is what's the call, who's getting the ball, and where's it starting, or where it's restarting, I should say. All right.
Can I interrupt real quick? I am not seeing your screen.
You're not seeing it? All right, hold on.
I see your mouse, but I'm still on the rule 7.
All right, hold on. I thought I switched that. That's my apologies, everyone. All right, everyone see it now? Mechanics.
There we go.
All right. All right, so this is where we were before. What coaches need to know, where what's the call, who's getting the ball, and where are we starting the ball or restarting it. Know your physical ability. If you need, if you know you can get up and down the field, you can get a little closer to play. If you feel like you need a little bit of a step or two to keep ahead of everyone, you want to make sure you create a little bit of space. That way, especially you don't get run over, and you can keep your eyes on the play. You don't become part of the play. You want to anticipate to, especially when the ball's loose. This is something Greg will probably go over a little bit later. I always kind of back up, create a little bit of space. Even though I know I'm able to get up and down the field, but that way I don't get caught up in players or get caught up in the play. Put yourself in the best position to make the best decision, and this takes time. It takes working games to get the where you feel like you can get the call right, being in a certain place around the players, a certain place on the field, anything like that. We always ask the question, can we get in better shape? Because we know running up and down the field, we can get tired. And we want to make sure we keep up with the pace of play. Because, of course, these kids are not getting older. They're always getting younger because we're getting older as the years go. The kids graduate, new kids come in at that same age. Get in the right place. Where's the ball? Am I on ball or off ball, which we'll go over later. Where could the ball be going next? Where are my partners? And can I see my partners to know if they're watching the same thing I am, if they're watching other players besides the player with the ball and the player defending them. Several situations like that. All right, pregame mechanics, meeting with the coaches, meeting with the table staff, having the captain's meeting, having the coin toss to determine who's going to get honor and possession, which I believe you guys already went over what honor and possession is, and what goal each team is defending to start out. And this is more for the high school games. We'll talk to the face-off players, making sure everyone's on the same page, know what our expectations are of them. Let them ask any questions they possibly could have before the game starts. The pregame lineup, making sure the in-home's on the field, and talking about anything we need to talk about in between quarters or during timeouts. The teams are talking about what they're going to do. I know Greg's a big facilitator of this as well. With my crews on timeouts, we're always talking, figuring out what's going on, if there's anything we need to watch for, anything we need to fix, anything like that. All right, preparing the table staff, making sure they have a penalty clock, or if they're going to just go off the scoreboard. Making sure there's a scorekeeper with a book, making sure to keeping track of the score, because the last thing we need to do is not know what the score is at a certain point during the game, or not knowing if a certain player has gotten too many penalties. Going over any conditions for penalties, making sure they know how to release players. And if it says here at the bottom, review early release procedures, that's more for if let's just say player has like a minute penalty and they leave 30 seconds into the penalty, that table knows how to get a hold of us, which the next dead ball, they would just do a double horn, know how much time was left when the player left, and then we'll work with them to get the player back in the box and how much time they got to serve at that point. All right, pregame lineup. This is kind of just, I usually just kind of tell the kids, hey, white talk to white, black talk to black. Let's have a good game, respect the game. Let my partners talk, see if there's anything they need to talk about. But the proper setup for this is the goalie's left shoulder should be to the goal they're defending. It should be goalie, defense, middies, and attack in a straight line. Face-off players should be on the midline, and they should be 5 yards apart, set by your partners. And I kind of use that as well. Like, hey, everybody, this is 5 yards. This is what we respect or expect on every restart. That way they know they have a general idea of what we are asking for on restarts, because with their blood's pumping, their heart's going, they cannot realize how close they are. But if we give them that general rule of thumb, it generally works. I tend to have less delay of game penalties because of the 5 yard restart when I mentioned that during my lineup. This is more like what I said, just keeping it short and sweet. White talk to white, black talk to black, and let's have some fun. The goalies cross, shake hands, and everyone else crosses and shakes hand and goes and gets in their position for the upcoming face-off. And this is how they would set up for every face-off rally. If you look at my cursor here, the attack and defense on each side and goalie are below the restraining line inside the box. Same thing over here. You have two players, one from each team on each wing line. And of course, you have the two kids taking the face off. For us, positionally, there's going to be a face-off official, which of course will conduct the face-off. And then a wing official over here. I usually say about 5 yards down the wing line, about 5 yards in, just so you can watch both wings off the face-off. Greg, you got anything to add? All right.
No.
And we it depends on what association it is, but for us, you see up here it says running right, running left. We run left. So this wing official here, they're running to the goal they're defending. So their left shoulder is closer to that goal. That's all that really means for running left. If you're running right, it's just the opposite. You're closer to the right goal with your right shoulder. All right, for face-offs, face-off official responsibilities, you're going to make sure both players are legal and set up properly, top to stop, off the line, everything to the left of the head, nothing touching the plastic. You're going to back out diagonally, usually 45 degrees as a good way to run out or to back out, I should say, just to clear your path away from the players after you blow the whistle. Watch the players for anything like early movement or other violations prior to the start of when you blow the whistle. I always say know where your wing players are, especially where you're backing out. If they're going to be right behind you or if they're going to be away from you on the other side of the wing line. The last thing we would ever want to do is get run over, be involved in the play, or get hit by a stick. So I always kind of just turn my head, look to the wing that's closest to me, and make sure I know where those players roughly are. They could move, but most of the time they're going to be right where they're at when you blow the whistle. And for restarts, you're going to blow all restarts as a face-off official. If you blow the whistle early or you have some kind of foul or violation, you're going to blow that play back in as a face-off official. Sometimes you may not. You may want to communicate with your partner, especially depending on what way the ball's going. But that's something we can always discuss in pregame to get that right. And like we said about set up for face-offs, everything to the left. All right, so our commands, we're going to tell them to go down. They're going to get top to stop because the ball's already going to be on the ground on the midline. You're going to tell them however they need to get situated, get legally set up. If they're not, you're going to say set. They know they can't move after that point. Back out, blow the whistle, and try to make sure you get out of the way and get in a good position to officiate that face-off. All right, wing official. Like I said, your responsibility is watching the wings. It's not watching the face-off kids because your partner's doing that. I always say it's a face-off like wing official. I really shouldn't know if they go early or not. My attention should be on the wing players, and especially if you have two wing players right next to each other, they'll gain more of my attention, or especially if they're kind of like bumping each other. That may be a situation where we want to have game management and say, hey, knock it off, knock it off. That way they know that we're watching them. But we especially want to watch wing players come in, make sure that nothing happens that, like if one wing player pushes another wing player into the face-off kids, that we don't think someone just try to hit the face-off kids. We have that information to pass along, and we can make the right call on that player who pushed that player into that pile, or wherever the case may be. Making sure the other players below the restraining line, the attack and defense, stay below the restraining line until there's possession. Watch for the early release over the restraining line. And make sure those players don't leave the box if we have a violation without any possession, anything like that off a face-off before we get play restarted. Because like especially if we have like someone jump the set call, you'll have some players from the box try to run into the substitution area to get another player on. We got to make sure we lock those players in, make sure they don't leave the box early until we restart that play, then they can leave. And that
on those violations, so when you do have a violation during a restart, the midfielders can sub in and out of the sub box. It's just the attack and D that are locked in. That's often a point of confusion. And we also, when we say they're locked in the box, they're really only locked below the restraining line. They can be out in the alley areas. They just can't be in the center of the field over the restraining line.
Yes. And you can see that on here, especially on this one. You see these players over here on the right side. They're all inside the restraining line and in the box. But you have two players here on the other side, kind of on the outside in the alley. That's totally fine, like Greg said. They just have to stay below that restraining line until there's possession. And like it says shows on here with a little triangle, it's just more where the focus for that face-off player, face-off official is, I'm sorry. It's just really just on those face-off players. For the wing, you see on here, they're focused on the wing players. And see how these two are closer than these two? Like I said, my attention is always towards the two with more, whoever's closest. I'm still taking a glance over to make sure these guys don't jump the line, but most of my focus here is gonna be right here. All right, so if the ball goes to the left, you're gonna see the face-off official. He's gonna go down to the lead position, down the GLE. The wing official here is gonna fall into the trail position, like I said, about 5 yards in, 5 yards down from the wing line. The ball goes right, just gonna be the complete opposite. The wing official is gonna become the lead, and the face-off official is gonna become the trail. This is just showing both. Just fast forward through this because it's just showing the same exact thing. All right, so there's a little video here to show you just a visual of it. Face-off official does the face-off. He gets them corrected however he needs to get them corrected. Back out, blow the whistle. Ball's gonna go to the left. So the wing official is gonna go down, become the lead official right here. And then you're gonna see the face-off official fall into the trail position right here. Any questions on that?
Hey, Mike,
Yeah,
did they talk about the different face-off violations primarily we're looking for?
no, it didn't show that, no.
So, and we'll talk about this on Saturday. So the objective of the face-off, and it's developed into this, is trying to get the two face-off players, basically to make it fair and everything, starting at the same time, but to get that ball out and into play as quick as possible. And the most common violations that you'll see on a face-off are, first of all, a player, of course, not lining up properly. And that usually you would call that after you've given them several warnings or attempts to correct them quickly without disadvantaging the other player. A player moving any part of their body after set before the whistle. Anytime that a player clamps over the ball but does not rake the ball out in a timely fashion. So the rule basically says once you get the clamp, you need to get the ball out in one fluid motion. Okay, so you can't anymore just take and hold the ball down to the ground while you spin around 4 times and find somebody open to flip it out to. And the opposite of that is a player gets the clamp, but then the player who didn't win the clamp does something to restrict that player's ability to pull the ball out. So either full out clamp down over the stick, any part of the stick, to use any part of their body to hold the arm to the ground so the arm can't move, anything like that. Another common violation is one player kicking the other player's stick, even if it's inadvertent. And then the one other that we're really going to look for right off the face-off is if the player gets the clamp with the back of their stick, and when they bring it out, the ball is actually stuck in the back of their stick. And as soon as you see that, that's a violation, and you're gonna stop play and turn it over. So those are, when we talk about violations, those are the main violations that we're looking for.
Right. And this is kind of just how we handle those violations. If it's free whistle, we're just gonna like after set, like they'll just jump real quick, or right after we start backing out, they jump. We're just gonna stand those players up without a whistle, signal a legal procedure, and state the violation, and point whatever way the team with the ball is going to start. If it's post whistle, like Greg said, like a hold or it gets stuck in the back of the stick, we're going to blow that whistle immediately and then signal that violation. And 2-person mechanics, the trail will handle all those restarts because the lead will be, if they are the faithful official, they'll be running down to get to their spot. If they're a wing official, they'll be doing the same thing to get ready for play to come that way. Restart the spot where the violation occurred. So like if you have like a hold or someone kicks the stick right in the midline and the ball rolls and ends up down in the opposite restraining line, we want to make sure we bring the ball back to the center, the midline, where that violation occurred. We don't want to disadvantage anyone having to run an extra 20 yards, or especially having to clear through any riding attackman, anything like that. We want to make sure we give them that proper starting spot. So, yeah, the free whistle violation. He's not going to blow his whistle. He's just going to come stand up, and you're going to restart play. Once we're going to have just a clean face off, someone's going to get possession. It's usually the official who's closest to the ball who'll yell possession. You can echo it as the partner to make sure everyone knows there's possession. That way the players know they can leave the box. And that's when we're going to start our 20-second and 10-second counts for clearing. Which of course the 20-second count will be I can't talk. The 20-second count will be clearing from the defensive end to the midline, and over the midline, it'll be 10 seconds to get into the box for high school rules. All right, primary responsibilities as lead. It's goal increase coverage, end line and shot back up. The sideline that you're closest to, where you see my mouse right here. So the lead position right here is the sideline that's closest to you that you got to cover. And then you have the 20-second trail count when you transition to the new trail. For trail, you're going to watch the shooter. So any situations. Do what? Oh, I thought someone had a question. As trail, whenever we have a shooting situation where someone's taking a shot on goal, as trail, we want to watch that shooter. Make sure there's not like a late hit, any kind of penalty that happens to them during or after that shot. You get the sideline responsibility, and you have the opposite goal responsibility. So if the play goes the opposite way, is this trail's responsibility to get down as the new lead and cover that opposite goal. So this is what we're talking about. Like Greg and I say, whenever I know Greg's lead, I know he's going to cover the shot to wherever it goes out, or if it goes in the goal, wherever the case may be. As trail, I'm watching the shooter, and he knows that as well. And the same thing's opposite. If he's trail, I know he's watching the shooter. I know I can cover my main responsibility, which is the goal or wherever the ball goes if it doesn't hit the goal. Any questions about basic responsibilities for leading trail? All right. Oh, and over and back for trail as well. So if the ball rolls, goes off on offensive glass, it's going to be this trail's responsibility to determine whether or not there's an over or back violation. All right, so we saw this a little bit before about on an off-ball field coverage. So the basic principle behind this is one official should be watching the ball, and the player defending that player with the ball. Off ball, you're watching pretty much all the other players, not in that vicinity. So we kind of break the field up in half by this imaginary line. Lee's going to cover this area right here. Trail's going to cover this area right here. So if we're thinking on and off ball, this ball's in the Trail's field of vision right here. Lee's going to watch everyone else pretty much right around the crease. Make sure the offensive players cutting through are getting through fine. Make sure no one's going through the crease offensively or anything else possibly going on over here. So we're going to see the ball roll down this way. So it's going to be in the lead's field of vision now. So he's going to be on ball. Trail's going to do the exact same thing the lead was doing prior. Watch an off ball, anything going on in his area here away from the ball. And we always talk about being on a yo-yo with each other. So if the trail has to back out or the lead has to come in to watch the play, we're going to do the exact opposite as our partner. So if the lead comes in, trail's going to kind of back out. That way we keep everything between us. So when the ball goes up past X back into the trail's position, the lead's going to be off ball again. And the lead is, I think this thing's a little bit off. It has the lead in the crease right now, but it would just be more of lead would be inside here, right where the mouse would be when the trail backs out to cover the play that came up above the restraining line here. And as the ball backs out, goes the opposite way, you're going to be on a yo-yo back out into those original spots. Does everyone get the general idea of what I mean being on a yo-yo and on and off ball for the basic part? I know it takes a minute to get used to it. I don't know, Greg, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, you're covering this good. Once we get to the video, Mike, I'm going to take over. So
Okay.
you should be getting to the video in a minute. Then I'll just take over the host.
Okay. And then as you see, like I talked about before, lead's going to have this sideline closest to him, the end line here. Trail's going to have their sideline and the center line covering over and back. All right, here's the video. You want me to turn the sound off or you just want me to let it play, Greg?
No, it's good with the sound.
Okay.
In this video, we're taking a look at the lead and trail official and their responsibilities. So you'll notice the trail official in the lower left-hand side of your screen and the lead official in about the middle of your screen during settled play. So let's talk about the trail official as the ball moves around the field. Right now, he's just a little lower than the wing line, and he's in what's known as the 5x5 square, just about 5 yards above the box, 5 yards in to the field or 5 yards outside the field using the wing line as a reference point. And the trail official is right now, he's the on official. So he's watching this player. He watches the shooter all the way through and the eyes stay on the shooter. Turning our attention to the lead official, he's off right now. But as the play comes to his side of the field, now he's the on official. Now he's dropping below goal line extended to watch the play. And now he's the off official as the ball is in the trail side of the field. So again, we're going to watch this shot and notice the different responsibility. The lead has his eyes on this shooter, but as soon as it shoots, he's got the whistle out of bounds and the signal along the end line. So now, having watched this clip, let's flip over and take a look at how we can diagram out lead and trail and on and off officiating. Here we have the field set to show on and off responsibilities between the lead official and the trail official in a two-person crew. So we've stripped out all of the other players save one red defenseman and one blue attackman. Because again, we're just looking to show really the focus of the two officials here. So here we cut a diagonal line through the goal area or the attack box. And here we say that the lead official is pretty much responsible for everything as the on official on this side of the line. And the trail official is responsible for the entire rest of the field as the on official. So again, the on official means you are the primary official. So if we move these players up here, trail official will probably bump back just a touch, and the lead official will move in a bit. So the trail official is watching the on-ball action. So that area with the ball and about the 5 or 6 yards around the ball as well. So you have not just zeroed in on the ball, you want to be on the players. So those defensive penalties of holding, pushing, slashing, cross-checking, pretty much any defensive foul, and then any offensive foul as well, moving picks with another player involved, warding off, all the things that you could think of for an offensive violation, the on official would be calling primarily. But what happens when the ball moves around the field, and how do you determine when you are the on and when you are the off? Well, let's go ahead and move these players down. Now, again, there's other players on the field. This is to simplify and just show as the ball moves. So we're going to come on down, and as these players move down, the trail official is going to bump down just a touch. And the lead official is prepping that they're going to come down. And again, the most common thing that's going to happen here is we're going to push to the opposite side of the field, especially if we're going quickly. If they're going slowly, that offensive player might want to set up a play from right down here at X. So then he could go either direction. But if he's really pushing one side, he'll probably cut the one end. And then there's a chance certainly that he's going to push the other direction. So the lead official is just aware of this and to start coming down towards the end line. So here the lead official is the on official. The ball is on this side of the diagonal line. He's got the on ball defensive fouls, the on ball offensive fouls. He's also watching this line just in case, let's say this offensive player just grazes the line. He's going to be right on top of it just in case. Now, if these players are up a little higher, he can certainly be up a little bit more. But whenever you have a contested play along this end line, get to that line. It's going to help sell the call. So if this lead official is that deep, trail official can come in a little bit more. And he's got the big picture. He's looking all the way. Maybe there's a little bit of extension on this side of the field, again, depending on where the players are, right? Because if the lead's attention is focused right here, yeah, there might be some off-ball stuff happening on this side, and the trail official does want to be open to it. So don't let this line just completely take you out of, I can't call anything over here. If something bad happens over here as the trail official, you got a safety violation, 2 players are wailing on each other for no good reason. Lead official can't call that because he's looking right over here. Let's continue this play around. So the lead official, actually, we're going to keep him here. So these players are going to start pushing out this direction, and then the defender is always going to be working to stay between his man and the goal. And as that play starts pushing up, the lead official's working out a little bit. And that trail official probably rises up, and now he's up again. So again, that trail official staying in this main 5x5 box between just inside the box and the very end of the wing line, this area here. So again, these players move up, and you can do one of 2 things here as lead official. You can either really stretch yourself out here, even if the players come to right about here, right, to see this entire field. Or if you get really stuck, let's say those players really push in on you and you didn't have a chance to back out, or you don't have the opportunity to quickly get all the way out, well, your emergency bailout plan is just to back out at an angle towards the end line or towards the cone. So you're getting here, you see these players coming at you really quick, like this player decided to really push this direction and it took you by surprise. Well, instead of backpedaling, just drop 2 steps, 3 steps, let the player run by you. And now we can follow that play up nice and easily. So there's advantages. There's always that kind of straight line path that we're working along goal line, that yo-yo in and out, in and out. We always want to be active. Lead official is very active. But if you get stuck, a very good way to save yourself from having to spin all the way around or lighthouse is just to drop on down. Because now if we have a loose ball or if the ball drops and we're coming on the way down here, we can always work our way outside the play. So dropping on that angle gives you the opportunity to do that with less steps. So now let's look at a practical example of movement and also responsibilities in this two-person crew. So we've established trail official has this half. He's the off official, looking around for any potential safety or off-ball tactical violations. The lead official, by virtue of this play, he's been pulled out just a little bit. And so now we're going to look at what happens if the defense gets a little bit off and we have an opportunity for pretty much a bang, bang, quick shot. So here, we're going to go ahead and have a very quick pass up to this midfielder, right? So in this situation, he sees an open man, bangs it up, top of the box. Now, recognizing this, the lead official, and it helps to, as you become more and more of a student of the game, you realize you see an open player or a player sneaking now over to this side of the field. Why did the players suddenly pump the ball all the way over here so quickly? We're looking for this player on the backside. So knowing that and knowing that they're going to shoot here, this is the objective. Now the lead official recognizes that and starts running in. All right, we don't have anybody on this side of the field to worry about, so the lead official is going to run on in. Trail official, all right, he's going to start dropping just a little bit in case this ball squirts out of bounds or in case, because this is going to be a dangerous pass, just in case maybe there's a tip or the defense picks it up. This trail official is dropping just to prepare to go upfield. So, attackman catches the ball. Now, we've talked the on and off responsibilities. Settled situation, lead official. He has that end line, but primarily has this goal and the crease line. So he's working in this whole way through. By the time that attackman catches the ball, he's on the crease, either a step above, a step below. So he's not blocked by the pipe directly on goal line extended. So whichever you like to be, step above or a step below, get to where you like to go. And then this attackman is going to go ahead and shoot the ball. All right. Say the goalie just makes a save here. We'll keep the ball right at that point. Trail official has the shooter. Trail official has the shooter. Trail official has the shooter. This cannot be overemphasized. In a two-person crew, the trail official always, always, always has the shooter. So let's say ball hits a pipe or it comes right down towards the line. The lead official is the only one, the only person in this entire field who can make a good goal, no-go call or a crease violation call or a push into the crease call. He's the only one who is in position to do that. But he's in position because he recognized what was going to happen. Again, see where that ball is going. See if that tempo of that team has changed up a bit and work on in, because we can always back out as this lead official. We want to come in nice and tight when we get the opportunity so we can be on goal for these close shots. So again, to recap, lead official has the end line on contested plays, has the goal and the crease line for all shots. And the trail official has the shooter, always, always, always has the shooter. Under no circumstances, a shooter never left uncovered. Watch the shooter. Trail official also has the potential for the over and back. We'll get to that in a separate video. And the trail official is also responsible for the goal on the opposite side of the field. So again, when we were talking about when this player had the ball, you know, as he's passing it over to this attackman, maybe a defenseman snags it, and now we have a push going upfield, or there's a tip, and now we have a quick push up here with a red defenseman going to pick it up. The trail official is running to go cover that goal.
I think that's it, right?
Yep.
All right, Mike, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in here because save some of Mike's breath. He's been doing a great job for a long time. So, yeah, that's a good little video. I know it's a lot, right? You know, even if you have lacrosse experience, you know, it seems to get very intricate. You learn kind of how to do all that stuff that they're talking. You learn how to anticipate and do all that. early on, like when we're out on Saturday, we'll ask you to stay at least in the beginning, just a little bit wider. Until you learn how to anticipate where play is going to go and then work your way in. Of course, when you're the on official, particularly as the lead, we want you as close to that goal in that crease as possible. But, you also know it's a kind of a learned skill. Okay. So, and the other thing, and you heard Gordon say it a million times in the video, the trail is responsible for the shooter. And I would expand that to shooter and passer. And it's not always just the trail. If you're the lead and you have a play where they're curling the ball, let's say around the crease, and you have a guy passes right here, but he has a player on him. It's okay to watch that passer for a second and just make sure nothing stupid happens, and then move your vision back over, into the center of the field. And these are all traits that you learn. But we want to, the worst feeling as a referee is you're looking somewhere else. And all of a sudden, you hear the big collision, you hear the big bang, you see the kid laying on the ground, but you have no idea what happened. And you really put yourself in a bad spot. So we want to make sure that we're always watching and always paying attention. Okay. So is there any questions about the basic roles of lead and trail and on ball, off ball responsibilities? All right. So I think, and I probably, this is a lot of material tonight. We're probably going to go for another 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more than that. So I just want to let you know, I know I've been trying to keep it at 90 minutes, but we need to kind of get through this so everybody has a good visual. If you have to go for whatever reason, you'll just have to find this spot in the video and catch yourself back up. All right. All right. So after a goal is scored and going to face-off, this is a mechanic. And if you remember back to our first day, our objective, especially after a goal, was to get the ball back up to the center of the field and be ready for the face-off. And we saw a short video in the first class where the officials were moving. They were hustling and they were getting the ball up to the face-off X. And when they hustled, the players hustled. And there was another video when the players didn't hustle, or when the officials didn't hustle, the players didn't hustle. So we want to move these guys along. So we have a goal scored in two-person. All right. We first just make sure we take a second to watch everything going on. This is one of those flashpoints we talked about. So our vision needs to open up, and just make sure we don't get a late hit or, some kind of taunting or anything like that. So if you see we have good coverage of the front of the goal, the lead is going to run in, he grabs the ball, and then the trail kind of takes this little trek down here to the middle of the field. And then we can either do a short toss or run up, hand the trail the ball. The lead will go to their next spot for the face-off and become the wing official, and the trail official becomes the face-off official. Okay. Pretty simple. Again, we want to do it very quick without taking our eyes off the players. Also, that little handoff of the ball sometimes is a good communication tip. And you can ask Mike, one of my things is that's a good time to say, hey, I just warned number 43, for pushing off in front of the crease. And that way, when things switch around, everybody knows what's going on. You know what you're watching for, and you keep the game safe and fair. I also like to tell stupid jokes at that time, but for the most part, we keep it to lacrosse. So I'm going to skip this slide so we move on. All right. We talked about over and back a little bit. So basically, once the player has satisfied the count, and in high school lacrosse, it's a 20-second to get it over into the midfield and then 10 seconds to get in the offensive area. They now have to keep the ball in their offensive half of the field. So if once they've established the count, the ball goes back over the midfield line, we have over and back. So basically, and this is a, it's a bang bang because we want to preserve their advantage. So the ball comes over, the trail comes to the line. He's gonna blow the whistle. But as soon as he blows the whistle and makes the call, he's gonna hustle because his job is to get to the goal. The former lead official, okay, is gonna hustle up, and we want them in two-person mechanics to do that restart. We don't want the trail to restart the play here and then have to run 40 yards to get to the goal. Okay, we want to take, a little bit of time and make sure that we get to the goal and cover everything safely. Okay, and then play comes in and they become their trail and their lead. All right. Another huge part of our mechanics are restarts. So when we restart play, we want to do it to preserve any advantage the team deserves. We want to make sure we do it as fast as possible, but maintaining our field coverage. So in settle play, who's going to restart? So if a shot goes out of bounds on the end line or the sideline, it's going to be the lead. If the ball goes out on this sideline or this end line, it's going to be this official. We'll pretty much stick to that. And this will also be one of those things when we get on the field on Saturday, you'll really see. So this is called a deep restart. So basically, probably the blue team turned the ball over in some way, probably out of bounds over here. And here's the ball. So the red team is going to start with the ball. So down here you have the old lead, who's now the new trail. And he's going to follow, once we do the restart, he's going to follow play up, but maintain a distance behind the ball. Okay, that way official has an opportunity to count off sides, stay with the play, and also is in position in case the red team was to turn the ball over and come back to the goal. Then the new lead, as he moves up, and this is critical, is going to keep two lines between himself and the ball and move towards the goal as the ball moves up the field. And this person has to kind of move at a pace to make sure that they're always here before the ball is here. Okay. And when we say two lines, we basically mean these lines. So, you have the restraining line, the midfield line, and then the new offensive restraining line. So if the ball is back here, I want to be past the midfield line. All right. And then as the ball moves up, if it was to move up here, I'd want to now be below this line. As the ball crosses the center line, I need to be working my way towards the goal. And the lead should always be hustling. Their main priority is to get to this goal. Because as we've talked in the past, right here, this is where all the action happens. This is where the goals are scored. This is where the crease is, the goalie is. Everything gets amplified when we get close to the goal. All right. Whenever we restart play near the substitution box. So remember, we always are maintaining or making sure we try to preserve that 5-yard advantage on any restart, which means when a player starts with a ball, no defensive player, no offensive player can be within 5 yards of his teammate, and no defensive player can make a play on the ball until they've given that 5 yards. Whenever we're near the substitution box, we want to make sure the ball is 5 yards from the sideline. So if the ball goes out anywhere in this area, we want to get it 5 yards out and 5 yards away, make sure we're 5 yards away from this box. And the reason is, during that restart, you can have free substitution. So basically, think about it. If we're restarting here, okay, let's say that restart, you try to do that restart here, and you have a guy in the box here, a guy subs in. Now, as you're blowing your whistle, this guy comes out. Well, he's within 5 yards automatically. So you've automatically created a violation. You've also created a pretty unsafe situation because this guy gets a nice free run at them. So anytime we're near the substitution box, whoever's going to conduct that restart demands that that player get 5 yards out relative to where the ball went out of bounds. That makes sense? All right. So we get the ball out, everybody gets in position. Now the lead is already there and we've cleared the ball. All right. Does that make sense? All right. So this is going to be an end line restart after we had a shot or the ball went out of bounds on this line. So it's going to be the ball. The defense is going to start with the ball. All right. So let me run through it really quickly. All right. Just so you kind of see what happens. Okay. So I'm going to go back and kind of walk you through it because these are important restarts. All right. First of all, the trail is generally going to handle these restarts. Okay. Because the lead's job is to get forward. All right. So once the ball is in bounds, the trail blows their whistle. Before they even blow their whistle, this lead player should be moving this way. So this, he can maintain his 2-line distance and get to the goal. And as you watch the animation, watch the trail official is going to stay 5 to 10 yards behind the ball. The other thing on any of these kind of restarts where you're coming up the field, you want to get wide. So you at least want to be out in these alleys and as close to the sidelines as you can get. Because often, you know, the restarts end up over on one sideline or the other. Okay, so the lead moves up, the ball and the trail come up. The trail kind of hangs out here, make sure they're not in the way of substitution, and then comes down, finds their position. Okay. All right, here's a fast break. Okay, so this would have been a turnover. It wouldn't have been out of bounds. But all of a sudden, the ball becomes loose or whatever, and the defense gets it, and they're going to move upfield very fast. So, and very similar to the other one. The only thing here is you saw how quickly that lead player had to move. Okay. And this might not be on a restart necessarily. It might just be off of a turnover or something like that is when you're going to get that fast break. All right. So everybody understand that with restarts, and we'll spend a lot of time Saturday on restarts. Let me go back one just to kind of show you the primaries. So again, whenever we have a restart, so anywhere, if the ball is going this way, so we're going to the right side of the screen, the trail is always going to handle this. Okay. Even if the ball is over here. So what would happen is, so let's say the ball went out of bounds here, this lead is going to come up. All right. He's going to put his hand up in the air. The trail is going to come up here. So he's a few yards behind where the ball is. All right. And basically once that player is in bounds, the lead is going to put his hand down, point in the direction of play. The trail is going to restart it. And then everything else is the same way we talked about. They're going to move upfield, all right, and get into position. On a fast break here, also, this trail doesn't have to stop here. If all the play went by, I just cook right down the sideline and get into position, because fast breaks, you know, a lot of stuff happens, a lot of late stuff, a lot of crazy stuff, and the lead is, you're really leaving him on an island. So when we have fast breaks, we really want to, you know, get upfield and get our coverage. All right. I'm going to skip that. We talked about it. Penalty relays. I think Mike covered all this in Rule 7. All right. Correcting mistakes. And again, just, yeah, just so that we understand, we're all going to make mistakes. Lacrosse, the game moves super, super fast. You got a lot of stuff happening. You know, it's very easy to get confused of which direction a team is going. As you move up and do a lot of games, you learn little tricks. One of my tricks is when I have a restart and I'm a little confused, I always look at the goalie, because the goalie will always tell me what direction, the blue team or the white team is going, depending on what color the goalie's wearing. So if I knew the ball went off of white and blue was going to get it, I find where the blue goalie is, whatever direction he's pointing in, that's the direction we're gonna start play. So you learn all those little tricks. Mistakes are going to happen. It's how we learn. And the quote's here by Dean Smith. What do you do with a mistake? You recognize it, admit it, learn from it, and forget it. And like I said, the reason I like the on-field training that we're going to do is we are going to, we're going to make a lot of mistakes, and we learn from mistakes, right? As coaches, and players, you hope you learn from a lot of those mistakes in practice. But in reality, you take the mistakes you made in games and work on them in practice so you don't make them. And it's the same in refereeing. You point the wrong way enough times, you figure out little tricks to not point the wrong way. You throw a flag on an offensive offsides and embarrass the shit out of yourself. You figure out how to wait a second and make sure you throw the flag. You're supposed to throw the flag, or just kill the play. So you learn these things as you move on. We all have. And we all still make these mistakes. So never let the mistakes kill you. All right, this end of game, I'm going to change a couple things here just so you know. My big thing, have an end of game exit strategy. Okay. We don't have to sign the scorebook. Okay. And our job ends when we leave that immediate playing facility. We leave the field together. And then here where it says acknowledging the coaches is okay, and not acknowledging them is okay. I know Kevin can attest there's probably times that he would not want to see me after a game. It's best for us just to get off the field, get rolling out of there, and we'll figure everything out later. So basically, and we had a discussion in a Facebook group about this recently, how different organizations handle the end of the game. So what we do in the DLOA is once the game is over, we get to the exits. Certainly if something happens in front of us, we deal with it, but we don't stay and watch handshakes. We don't sign books. My big thing is you don't take anything to the field with you that you're not willing to leave there. Because I'm not getting in the middle of a fight or a bunch of nonsense because you need to go back and get your prized water bottle or your bag of fruit or whatever it is you brought on the field. So we get out, we leave the field together. And then what I would say is once we get off the field, we do our quick post game. So that's mechanics. On Saturday, I'll have some cheat sheets for us for mechanics as we move through. That's primarily what we are going to be working on when, on the field, is just getting those mechanics down. And again, the biggest thing in mechanics is keeping the players safe and keeping the play between the two officials and knowing who should be watching the ball and the lines and who should be watching all the players. And, if we're not careful, and we don't work on it, we get into a lot of situations where, you've got 20 players on the field and you've got two guys watching two players chase a ground ball, and you got 18 other players doing who knows what. So it's very important to really work and learn these mechanics. And that's what we'll do on Saturday. And then that'll become like a lifetime mission to get all that stuff right. And and football guys, you have the same sort of mechanics to make sure you have the field covered and get all that stuff done. So with that, are there any questions?
Yeah, could you send out that first slide deck that you went over, please?
The first slide deck.
Yeah, there was a
You-
chart about the different types of penalties and whether it be a play on or a
Yeah,
down.
yeah, sure.
I just want to take
I'll,
another look at that.
Yeah, I tell you, in the morning, I'll copy that and I'll send that out in the email because that is a good chart. And then I'll hopefully get this recording up really quickly in case you want to review it before we go out on Saturday.
Thank you.
All right. No, that's a great question, Alex. Thank you. And that, that's a big part of the mechanics too, is knowing kind of what situation you have and what you're gonna do. You know, and you want to learn that and become good at it, because that's how you maintain game flow. If, you know, you're throwing flags when you shouldn't throw flags, and you're putting guys in the box at the wrong time, and, you know, you create confusion, it only slows the flow of the game down and increases everybody's frustration. So we want to make sure we all learn that, but it does take time. All right, if there's no other questions, I want to thank Mike Hernandez. Just so you all know, I called Mike at about 1 and said, hey, I might have an issue. And Mike, who works nights and is usually up all night taking pictures of the insides of people's bodies, volunteered to come on and help us out. So everybody, thanks to Mike. He's a great asset to our group. And also make sure you congratulate him, because he just was accepted into DLOA, which is the NCAA officiating association. So soon to be seen on a college lacrosse field near you.
Congratulations.
Michael Hernandez.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Congrats.
Thank
So,
you.
and I'm sure Mike will tell you, you know, he could not have done it with everybody like you, and learning and just continue to work to get better. So with that, I think we'll close the meeting. Again, if there's any, I'll make the switch for the two guys for Saturday. Kevin, I sent you out the email. I'll send out a chart in the morning. And if there's anything you all need, don't hesitate to call or text me. And I think for most of you, I have the certificate from the USA Lacrosse course. If you haven't finished that, try and get that done, so that after our meeting next week, I can pretty much sign off that we are all level 1 USA Lacrosse certified. All right, everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Greg. Thanks a lot,
Good
gentlemen.
night. Thanks, Greg.
Yep. You're welcome, guys.
Good night. Thanks a lot, guys. See you Saturday.
Hey.
Mike, you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right.
Yeah,
I don't know
sure.
if you have to
Yeah,
end it, or I guess I can end it now because I took the host.
I guess you can end it. Did you get my text?